Hi, I'm Kristin McKee. I work at JAMA Software here in Portland. It's my first time at Write the Docs. Thank you. I have spent the past joyous and thrilling year employed at JAMA Software, and I share the following stories with extreme gratitude for the many people who put together the existing culture and the existing documentation piece by piece over the past 10 years. It is because of them that I have the satisfying and juicy work before me that I do. So a controlled vocabulary is a living, organized list of terms, phrases, and concepts intended to help someone navigate a specific context. Here's a recent story of my path to a controlled vocabulary. When I arrived at JAMA a year ago, there were already 600 pages of documentation, lovingly patched together over the past 10 years by people who simultaneously had a separate job title. So I became an explorer, an archaeologist, to see what I could learn from the existing documents. For example, this word seemed to appear frequently. Sometimes, if you use capital letters, it might seem like a different word. I like this one up here, visual view. That's a good one. Yep. I notice you keep using this word, and I realize it doesn't mean the same thing to me that it might mean to you. And so we've come to the understanding of an implicit vocabulary. One morning at Standup, you know, stand-up can be very serious sometimes. Someone began talking about the sprinkles. One of the engineers said, "We need to take a closer look at our sprinkles." And he kept mentioning it again and again, and finally, most of us realized that we were hearing not what he was saying. He was saying sprint goals. So we all have some basic assumptions about what shared meaning we have with words. Otherwise, we'd be walking around saying, "What time do we eat lunch?" We have this basic assumption that, yes, these are words. We all know what stand-up is. We know what the calendar is, right? That's our implicit vocabulary. But why not bring it out in the open? Over the past year, I reviewed our documentation in depth. I spoke with customers, with our customer-facing staff, and I made controlled vocabulary visits to each department, like marketing, product, support, engineering, to ask them which words they wanted to know more about and which words they wished other people knew more about. And in collecting those lists, I learned that even though we may use the same words, we often have slightly different meanings for those words. So if you choose to make a vocabulary, a controlled vocabulary, here are some tips. You might consider having one meaning for one term and one term for one meaning. You might consider pairing certain verbs with nouns. Do you add an item or create an item? And you might cultivate it as a living and growing reference and not just right or wrong. And you may enjoy these benefits: consistency between product and documentation, users learning a term once and being able to reuse it, having your documentation be shorter, more succinct and meaningful, having less confusion for those internally making the product, and this is kind of a hidden one. Having this common understanding can actually help you guide your vision for the product. Thank you for your attention. I hope some of this is useful.